Hi folks, today we're going to Area 51. Let's do some flight planning with SkyVector. Now, we could go straight to Holyfield. That's what Area 51 is known as. It is in GPSs nowadays as Kilo X-Ray Tango Alpha. I'm not flying a GPS plane, and of course I couldn't get there in real life. You know, it's restricted airspace. Obviously, if you get anywhere near it, I have no idea what would happen if you got anywhere near it in real life. So, I watched Guy take a Janet aircraft, one of the employee shuttle aircraft from Vegas, into this Holyfield Groom Lake the other day. This is somewhat inspired by that. I'm kind of trying to do the opposite though. I'm really trying to just be that general aviation guy who wants to have a look at Groom Lake. I've never really been there in X-Plane. I have only the default scenery. Let's go and see what it looks like. I could obviously see what it looks like just by positioning the aircraft there and starting up. But I don't want to do that. So let's start at Las Vegas North, and well, just for purposes of planning, let's put L92 in it because, again, this is a system. I don't even know if it has KXTA in it. Let's see. No, invalid airport. So obviously XTA is something to do with extraterrestrial airport. But let's just pretend I have the tools available to me. Now, from North Las Vegas, we're looking for Groom Lake. That's where Area 51 is. It's a dry lake. So we could, if we were in GPS, actually program some coordinates in, or even, look, there's this safety nearby. I don't know which type of chart that waypoint is off. It's obviously not a VFR waypoint, but you know, it's I don't have the equipment to track to it anyway. So let's take that out of our flight plan again. What can we do though? Well, let's try and we could fly up the right of this restricted area, fly around this restricted area, not attract any attention to ourselves, and then find the bearing across to Groom Lake. But I want to do some good traditional VOR navigation. One thing I have noticed is if I head out to Indian Springs, it's not on this VFR map, but look, there is an Indian Springs VOR 114.0. So I'm actually going to use that, and then I'm going to track outbound on that VOR to Groom Lake. I'm going to put that in the plan now, even though it's a GPS coordinate, because look, if I track radial 336 outbound, I'm going to come to Groom Lake, 42 nautical miles in. So I could then fly a 300 head in, but what I'm going to do from North Las Vegas is actually intercept the Las Vegas VOR 306 degree radial, and about 39 nautical miles out it will route me all the way into the Indian Springs VOR, and then outbound Indian Springs. It's going to be cool. That's my little route. I'm not actually going to fly over Vegas. I'm going to fly and intercept this. So, you know, something like a, let's have a look, 270 heading. to intercept, and then I'll fly this 306 head into the VOR, then over the VOR I'll change to 336. Okay, should be pretty easy enough with the very, I guess, basic aircraft that I'm flying today, the Archer. As you can see, it has no GPS in it. So let's get this thing started. I am actually at VGT North Las Vegas, over the other side of the ramp at VGT, and yeah, I'm just trying to, I guess, find out. I'm bringing up on my phone a taxiway diagram. I've never flown out of even VGT, so let's just have a quick look. I'm going to try and figure out exactly where I am. So there's a runway 30R. I am out by the hangars on the east side. I should be able to taxi along the ramp. Yep, I've got it. Just to Lima. Let's start this thing up now. First thing I'll say is I'm actually on a 3-screen monitor, so I'm well aware you're looking at my center monitor. You don't actually get a good view. So every time I come into this view, you're going to see me kind of expand and rock back a little bit at just the kind of pilot's view. First thing is, let's make sure we have fuel on, which it does. Left tank, mixture rich, throttle just a tiny bit. Let's get our oh look, the avionics are on. There must be an avionics master switch already on here. I am going to run the fuel pump, the anti-collision lights straight away, and basically we're ready to start. Put the mixture back rich, and let's twist this round if we can. I hate the way those work. It was an easy start actually. I don't need the fuel pump on, not at least while taxiing. Oh look, it's off already. Let's have a look out the window, see where we are. This is my strange noise for it to be making. How very odd. How very, very odd. I like flying this particular Archer. It's just nice colours, as you can see. It's not a US registration, so kind of a foreign man in the US anyway. Right, let's have a look where I am. I was heading nicely, or pointing roughly south, so I should be able to taxi down there and find taxiway Lima that will get me very nicely onto runway 30 right. We'll have to set our heading bugs up in a minute. Is this Lima over here? Yes, it is, look. Very nicely found. Horrible engine sounds on here. Oh, that's Delta. You are on Lima now. Good, that's what I wanted to hear. We're crossing Papa. Lima crossing Papa. And as you can see, our runway of choice is right ahead of us. Let me me just put the brakes on for 1 minute, because what we have got to do is set things up. I don't have autopilot in this. I am going in stealthily because, well, trying to get there in low. So let's turn. What awkward little settings here. I'll just pretend it's on off, so I'm not broadcasting anything. Now our VORs are, again, terrible settings for switching these radios over. Absolutely terrible. I wonder if I'm actually going to be able to do this. Maybe I should change aircraft to the Warrior. This is honestly not the best model I've got. It's nice to fly an Archer because I do kind of intend flying one in real life, but I've got best textures and things like that. I mean, things do work. It's just gonna be a little bit fiddly. Ugh. What I'm trying to do is get 116.9 in here. Tell you what, let's move. See if I can more accurately put this radio stack head on. Now look at the hit areas for these are absolutely terrible. One 0.6. Can I get this one going now? Nope, that's the same one. Whoa, missed it. I'll tell you what, I'll keep counting down. 116.9 actually. Right, that is Vegas. The Indian Springs is 114.0. Magic little hotspot that we've found before. The directional gyro is not aligned with the compass. Well, let's have a look at that. Let's get a good look at it, kind of head on. Look at it in parallel. So it looks like we're 210 there. Well, it's not far off. Not far off at all. We are going to need it accurate though, and we said we were going to fly 305. Oh, please, please. This is painful. This is terrible. Collision detection. Right there. There it is. Just the tiniest little spot. Oh. 306. And I am going to tune my 336 radial in. See if we can do the same here. Largely because I don't want to be doing this in flight. I might see if I can just switch over between VORs. I usually use the primary OBS there to track a VOR, but I am really not sure that I want to do that. I might be forced to though. That is actually already on 114, so maybe I'll do that. Okay, let's see if we can successfully ident. That's Las Vegas. Can we get Indian Springs yet? Sounds like we can. So they will work. Okay. Right, let's... One last check, fuel pump on, because we're going to take off. No autopilot, so I'm hand flying this. Mixture rich. Let's just get a better view after all that monkeying around for you guys. As I say, I have the triple screen monitor. No heading bug. Whatever. So yeah, let's see if we can get there just using VORs. Going to intercept that 306° radial. We are using the distance measuring equipment. Hopefully I can tune that over quite easily to this DME. I can maybe do that in flight, maybe. It's just that moment of time now where, as a pilot, personally I like to just spin the aircraft a bit to the left and have a look, check that no one's coming in. I don't have to do that this time round. Cut a few corners on the sim. I mean, I haven't done a run up and doing proper checklists or anything like that. Right, let's go. Hopefully this is not as big a disaster as the last time I tried this, which was I flew a Cessna 310. And I am going to have to get a new yoke at some point, because one of my buttons is sticking. I really don't know what's causing it to stick, but let's fly that head in 270. Now this is actually crossing terrain where in theory the minimum altitude is 12,300 feet and then a section where it's 9,700. I'm not really going to have to go that high. I'm going to be going through a couple of valleys here and there. But nevertheless, I do have to keep an eye out for the terrain. I'm also going low. You know, again, this is a bit of a public joyride into an airport that, frankly, I shouldn't be flying into. So I do have to cross these mountains, but as low as I can. Right, so let's just pull back on the mixture a little bit, because I am high already, flying the Las Vegas airport. That's about right. RPM gauge. Oh, I hate that button now, it's sticking. It's actually my trim button, and maybe I can just clean it up. I don't know how it's got so horrible. So what we're looking for is this needle on this instrument to swing across to the middle, and then we're going to turn heading 3006, which is the outbound radial from Las Vegas. And if we follow that radial, we should get to Indian Springs. Now, halfway to Indian Springs, I really should try and retune these radials and retune these radios and change the radial to the closest VOR. I do have Indian Springs tuned in on the bottom for the outbound radial from Indian Springs, but I think I will try and kind of change over the top VOR to the inbound radial, as I really should do. So we're 10.5 nautical miles out. There is 39 more nautical miles to Indian Springs. That's another method I can use of distance measuring using the DME to check where I am. And for sure I could use it to check that I'm over the Indian Springs VOR, but I have no idea whether these mountains from anywhere. Let's just have a look. If we flick over this 114, we're 27.8 nautical miles from Indian Springs. I could just tune that in right there and leave it there. You know, we really are supposed to be. It's the same radial either way. Oh look, the needle's swinging across right now. Let's just re-intercept it. Keep that kind of 30-degree interception, and then we'll straighten up. So yeah, I flew this flight before in a Cessna 310. I decided last minute to take off from North Las Vegas, did all the planning from that, realised I hadn't repositioned the aircraft. So I ended up taking off from Las Vegas itself, not a big deal, just chop and change it. I did use the autopilot. That would not track the radial for some reason. So the navigation was slightly off, and then I did a wheels up land. I don't know how, because I actually did select the landing gear to go down. I made the big mistake, however, of just not checking all 3 green lights that were down. You know, the signal for the landing gear being down. Again, you can fly too casually in X-plane. I would never do that in real life, but for sure, X-plane, just get a bit lazy, skip checklist, get the engine on. Let's turn the fuel pump off now. I'm not doing maneuvers, and well, I might be able to squeeze in over those mountains. If you look, the radial is, I'm more or less on 306 radial, just a little bit to the right. So let's just fly to the left a little bit, and then I'll see if I can level off just a slight bit. I never use the radios to communicate on X-plane as well. I just leave them set to some extent. That's completely in line with this flight I'm doing. A joyride to Area 51. I will not be shouting about, you know, you're not going to be communicating with anyone. Right, let's now fly heading 306 roughly. I'll check the heading indicator. Magnetic compass looks to be roughly about right. Turn back to 306. This is really where autopilots come in, even if you're just using the heading mode. In some ways, I actually find a simulator a little bit more challenging to fly than a real-life aircraft. You know, the simulator can be a lot more squirrely in terms of movement. Now then, let's just tune my mixture. Watch the bottom dial, the RPM. There. I'm just rich at peak, so let's change it around. It should start going down again. Basically, I want to tune it till it's in its top upmost position. Okay, 18 nautical miles. So I'm nearly halfway to Indian Springs. Got a nice DME of reporting 113 knots ground speed. So, you know, the airspeed, if you look at it, is 105. So I'm not doing that bad. This is really roughly how fast an Archer would fly, roughly in real life. Again, again, the minimum operating altitude where I'm at the moment is, well, we do cross a corner of 12,300, so, you know, I am perfectly okay flying down this valley, and I'm purposely kind of flying low. We'll stick to follow the contour a little bit. Let's have a look at the aircraft. Such a nice aircraft, this nice blue one. Kind of looks nice. The other ones that I can use, the other Leveres, are a bit plain and boring looking to me. I don't think this is the best model aircraft I've got. I've got a much better Warrior. I've got a much better Arrow, sorry, from Just Fly. That's a real nice aircraft to fly. Back in the cockpit. Zooming out again. I'm just going to turn the engine audio down a little bit for you guys, because it is kind of overpowering me a little bit. Probably not working out so well for you. Okay, I'm gonna flick over to Indian Springs. Now look, ooh, there you go, it's retuned itself. We should, in theory, just check that we're on the VOR intended. Now, if you remember, the VOR doesn't display on that map, so I have no idea what the actual ident for this really is. Well, it's INS. It's actually Morse code INS, but I'm not sure what that is. But I'm satisfied enough that things are working out as they should be. So all we're going to do is hand fly this. Again, I'm not paying too much attention to altitude as long as I'm above the terrain, largely just trying to sneak in under the radar as best that I can. And we're only 14 miles, so you know that's not really that far away from Indian Springs now. Woo! I just looked away. Every time you look away, you make that kind of mistake in flying. You've got to be really on top of navigation, on top of looking at the instruments. You know, if you look down at your knee pad or something like that, you can't look down too long. Writing on the knee pad, don't look too much at what you're writing at. Just try and write it out freehand. But yeah, we're tracking the VOR really nicely either way. Part of me thinks I should get down a little bit lower just to be even more sneaky. But we're doing fine, really. There's not an awful lot to worry about. I'm not actually in any restricted area at the moment. The restricted area begins along this flight path at Indian Springs, so you know, again, trying to get in under the radar wouldn't be too much issue where I am, wouldn't attract too much attention. Indian Springs is a town. The airport there is Creech Air Force Base, which from time to time has been a training ground for the Air Force, US Air Force Thunderbirds display team. In 1982, there was a accident. 4 Thunderbirds pilots killed. What actually happened was the lead of a diamond formation had a control jam. I think an is elevator jammed, and everyone follows the lead. So what happened is all the pilots behind basically followed the lead as in a loop, and because that lead did not pull up out of the loop when he should have done, they all ended up flying straight into the ground. You'd think folk would break formation, but you know that they are actually trained to fly formation, and I'm sure those other pilots did wonder briefly what was going on with that lead aircraft, but maybe thought that it was gonna pull out at the last minute. I'm sure it was just too late. At a point everyone realized that something was more seriously wrong. But yeah, in terms of Air Force training and the Nellis bomb range, it's kind of a famous Air Force base. Of course, everyone knows about Area 51 nowadays. The interesting thing about Area 51 is the existence of it was it's not actually a secret Air Force base or CIA base. It's just that it was only, I think, 2013 where it was acknowledged to ever exist, and as an Air Force base, as a as a military operation that's not a secret operation. What is actually secret about it is what they do there. It's off limits, of course. There's all the secrecy surrounding it, the guards that protect it, all the people that fly out there from Vegas every day on secret Janet Airlines. But yeah, what's actually secret about it is all the mystery and what goes on there. You know, everyone knows it exists. It's actually in aviation databases now. Kilo X-ray, Tango, Alpha. And again, if we had a GPS, we could have programmed it in and flown right there. Okay, you see 4.5 nautical miles from our VOR. I'm slightly off to the left of it, but here's the thing, I'm getting a bit nearer. You know, it's going to get critically more sensitive and accurate, and actually just off the left of the screen there, left of center, you can see Creech Air Force Base. So we know from visual that we're actually near the VOR as well. So I've straightened up a little bit. Again, I could be a lot lower, just for that sneaky run. Certainly as I cross that Air Force base, I'm flying into restricted airspace, so you'd expect someone to come up and intercept me. I think what I'll do is I'll stay around this kind of height if I can fly along that valley, because, you know, we do want some nice views. Kind of like this one, actually. Let's have a look around. Beautiful, beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada area. Terrain, I just love it. I really do. Aircraft's turned a little bit while I've been looking. I bet I'm off course. Oh yeah, look at the radial. We're 1.3 nautical miles away and probably not even over it. So let's turn to our new heading was 336. So I'm going to turn 336 now. So at least I'm heading in the roughly correct direction. And then I'm going to retune this OBS, just find the little hotspot. Same trouble that I had before. 336. So I'm well to the left. So let's get a bit of an intercept. Hopefully we'll see that needle swing across again. I wish I had a wing leveler at this point, or a heading bug, because my dog's knocking on the door to go out. We actually have a little doorbell, like ring jingle bells thing that the dogs have learned. Every time the door moves, it jingles, and thus they've learned to actually ring that bell. Okay, look, the needle's swinging across. Let's turn head in 336. Now, let's have a look what's in front of me. Okay, so got a bit of a peak. Can't quite tell what height, but I may have to climb a little bit, and I'm just gonna have a look on the map. Yeah, I could actually see on this VFR map that peak is, I can see a little dot on that map. Let me show you it actually. I can see a little dot on that map, 6412. So it looks like I want to be 6,500 feet, and I mean even that's way too close. So yeah, let's get back to our right monitor. Of course, that's just my VFR map. It's not tracking us at all. But yeah, let's climb up a little bit and let's get back on course. And I'm just going to quickly run and let the dog out. So watch this aircraft be in a bank by the time I come back. Told you there, didn't I? Right. Okay, let's straighten up. We want to be giving you a bit better view. We're clearly overshooting, or want to overshoot our 336 bearing to re-intercept that radial. Now banked over a little bit more, and we were trying to get to 6,500, so I'm going to put a little bit more throttle in there. The funny thing is, I ran so fast to let the dog out. She went out as soon as I opened the door, and then I ran back. She thought something exciting was going on and kind of followed me straight back to this room. I think she has actually gone out again now. Okay, almost intercepted that radial, and well, I suspect by now I'd probably have some kind of aircraft scrambled to intercept me, guide me back to some kind of Air Force base. Maybe you should play multiplayer at some point and actually have someone do that just for fun. Aviation, whether real life or flight sim, is cool. I love flying in real life. I learned in a Cessna, and nowadays I have access to a Warrior and an Archer. As I say, I kind of find real life aviation a little bit easier. The aircraft and controls, you know, there's something about a simulator, it never quite feels the same. And you know, whether that's to do with the yoke you're using or the rudder pedals that you're using, and you know, these are more kind of game quality, I don't really know. The nice thing about simulators is it kind of doesn't matter. Very early on, when I did my instrument rating in real life, I was using a simulator that was a twin-engined Piper Seneca, and I don't have a multi-engine rating or anything like that. Fact is, it didn't matter. What mattered is I could use the controls, and even though the aircraft moved a little bit faster and I had to react a little bit faster, the point is I reacted to what I had on the instruments in front of me in exactly the same way. And I actually think even home flight simulators like X-Plane Flight Simulator or whatever, they are excellent for instrument training. It really does not matter that they feel slightly different for instrument training. What's important is you notice what's going on in front of you on the instruments and correct it. So yeah, simming is kind of a hobby of mine in many ways. I'm actually tracking this radio really nicely now, and obviously we got enough altitude over the mountain as intended, a good 500 feet of clearance over the point, which is just on my nose to the right. I'm kind of weird really that line that I plotted on Sky Vector just goes over this peak. I wonder really if I could very easily do a visual navigation. You know, after all, if you look at the scenery, there's what lake is that on the map? Just Indian Springs, Dry Lake. Over in the other side of those hills, if I was higher, we'd see a few more. So maybe you'd have to navigate by looking at dry lakes and therefore fly a little bit higher. But you know, there are enough waypoints and valleys, things like that. It doesn't actually say the name of that lake on the map. I can only imagine it's Indian Springs, you know, and that's the actual old spring or something. Every other dry lake is marked. In fact, over to the left, bear in mind I'm weaving all over the place here, is Frenchman Lake. That is actually named on the map, and Yucca Lake named on the map. So that's pretty cool. VFR to Area 51. Oh, I'm not that far off course. Again, you look at the instruments for a minute and you just get off course a little bit. I do go to the right, to the left of a little peak, and then to the right, basically left of something that peaks at 6,137 feet, and then I go to the right of a peak 6291. So really, I just kind of look up a little bit. If you look at where the nose is it that peak of the nose? And going to the right of the other one, is it that peak? Could I visually navigate now, just flying between those two peaks? Well, kind of spoils the fun a little bit of VOR navigation if all of a sudden you turn it to VFR. Because you know, the idea of this is to see if I can accurately fly to Groom Lake using a terrible old aircraft with no more modern navigation in it. So we are 20 miles out on the DME from Indian Springs. It's nearly halfway there then. So it's 42 miles. In fact, we're exactly halfway. It's just flicked to 21. Do you see a dry lake? Yet. I don't. I see what looks like a lake in the distance. Oh, look. It's just flicked from a lake color to a dry lake color. That is probably Groom Lake then. I bet what happens there is in the distance it's drawing what it's got in its database as some kind of lake, and when you get closer to it, more accurate representation of the scenery flicks in. And you know, that's just how software rendering of scenery is made. The information available to it when it was rendering in slightly more distant was that it was a lake, and now we have more accurate kind of texture information. I am going to get a little bit lower, just a little bit. You know, this is kind of a nice valley. I think I was right about flying between those two peaks. Of course, I've climbed a little bit since I said that, so they actually look even lower now. And it's a shame, because those sticky buttons I was talking about, that's actually my trim. So when I last used this yoke a few days ago, I didn't feel any of that crap. It is still working, it's just not as loose. But yeah, I'm just pushing it backwards and forwards now. But it does make it harder to trim. You know, trimming to fly down a little bit. I should build up some speed, which I am. Level flight was 116 knots and I've gone to 138. I'll pull the throttle back. That's pretty much past a more critical speed on an Archer. It's the airspeed that matters, actually, not the ground speed. But you can pretty much see yellow indicator. That's more of a warning area. You don't fly in the red. You've got to keep it at a specific maneuvering speed because the aircraft will be stressed a lot more. Can you make a runway out? I'm still not being intercepted by anyone. I am nicely tracking, just a few degrees off on the nose, but I am on that 336 radial, and I've actually stayed on it quite nicely, apart from when I look away, which, well, let's do that. See what we can see. There's the peak to the left that I was talking about, which makes sense because that was 6137, and we've just come down through 6,100. So that was the peak that was to the right, sorry, and we were going to fly to the left of. The peak that we're flying to the right of was 6291. Let me just recheck. Mixture, it's still good. Now I don't want to get too low. High elevation airfield here. Looks to be, according to the map, about 4,000 feet. There's a little contour line the other side of the lake that says 4,000 feet. So let's make sure we're leveling out, or at least trending upwards now. That's one thing that is a little bit harder in a simulator, is just straight and level flight. Again, it can be just handier to use a autopilot in something like X-Plane, but in a real plane you tend to have a bit more of a hand flying feel for it. Now if I were a gambling man, I would say that's Groom Lake, right in front of us, because I see runways. There we land. Get the police out to us. It's really not that far from Vegas. You know, when those Janet 737 aircraft transfer employees from Vegas to basically here and land on these runways, it must take 15 minutes or something. I mean, I've been flying, what, 50? Certainly been recording 50, maybe flying 40. But you know, those aircraft would get in here hell of a lot faster. I am going to take that runway, basically. So, fuel pump on, because we are coming in to land. I do want to change tank if I can, because I've been flying on that one tank for ages. And I am just going to throttle back now. I'm going to want to get some flaps in as soon as I'm in the white arc, because I am high for this runway. It is a long runway though. Right. We got some flaps in. First setting. Right, knots. Really want to bring this in about 70 knots. Still very high, so I can cut some power to lose some height. I want to pull the nose back, see if I can get it a bit more stable at 70 knots. The airspeed is bleeding off. I am sinking, but of course I am still high as well. Now, airspeed 70, I'm sinking very fast, so I can bring a little bit of throttle in. Landing is pretty much assured though now, so I'm ready to cut it and flare. Hold it off the runway. Hold it off. Not bad, not bad. About this time in real life, I think the base police, what do they call those guys? There's a special word for those guys that patrol Area 51, a special name. I can't remember. But they would be screaming along this runway. Can you imagine those cars pulling in front of you to stop the plane just because, you know, they don't want you taxiing any further over? Oh look, the runway's X'd out. They don't want you taking these taxiways and kind of getting nearer anything that looks even remotely more important. I mean, they hide everything in the hangars when they're not using it anyway because of spy satellites and things like that. But in the rare chance that you did manage to land at this airbase, I bet you wouldn't get very far. And I really wonder what would happen to you as well. You know, they can use, authorized to use lethal force. I'd like to think in this modern day and age, you would just be thrown into prison and get a severe bollocking. But I don't know. No one's tested this theory that we know about. Then again, people disappear all the time. Did they get curious, visit Area 51? And you know, it just turns out that nobody knew where it was they were going that day. Who knows? Well, I'm not going to turn left. I'm trying to have a bit look around the base. Just a little bit of look. Obviously, I don't know which kind of taxiway is very interesting to follow right now. Where it's going to lead, because, well, that's one thing. I don't have a taxiway diagram. I guess I could have looked at some kind of satellite picture. Had a bit of a laugh, but well, it looks like we're at the end of the road. And there's one thing I don't like doing, is at least driving an aircraft where I shouldn't drive it. So let's just shut off a few things. I find it quite amusing that the battery and out is also the avionics switch on this model. Right. Where's the cops? Where are they? Well, let's have a look around. Do you think there's a UFO just in that area in front of us? Helicopter pad there. Maybe not. Well, actually it could be a UFO. After all, it probably can take off and land vertically. So, yeah, I saw X's on the runway. Yeah, it's closed. That must be the main one over there. Bet they used it at one point I mean, if you look at it, at one point it was extended. I bet that was the SR-71 ox cart runway that was enormous length, and they just don't need it anymore. Of course, they could put it back into service. Control tower. I bet those guys see some real interesting experiments, unusual aircraft over the years. The F-117 stealth fighter, stealth bombers, Aurora project. Cool. Oh well, thanks. We managed to find Area 51 with the most, well, not the most basic navigation, because the most basic is dead reckoning and pilotage, but at least the most basic using instrumentation. Managed to get straight there, really. Guessed, we know it's called Groom Lake. Groom Lake is on the map, pretty much guessed where the aircraft, where the airport would be, and here we are. Kilo X-Ray Tango Alpha, otherwise known as Area 51, also known as Homey Field. Thanks a lot, folks.